Hey guys, on today's adventure, we're going to be doing some free diving and snorkeling with some sharks. Now, these are lemon sharks, one of the more common species of shark that we see off of the Florida waters. They get the name lemon shark because they have a very slight yellowish tinge in the color of their skin. Now, these clips are actually at the end of the dive when we already had the sharks in and they're hanging out on the surface with us. But when we first got out there, it actually took us a minute to get some of the sharks to come in. So while we were waiting to get our sharks to join us, I decided to practice a little bit of my free diving. Now, free diving is where you hold your breath and you dive down with no scuba tank, anything like that. It's just holding your breath, just with the air in your lungs. Now, free diving is so cool to me because it's kind of like a superhuman ability that we all have, but most of us don't know how to access in our brain. Like, most people can't hold their breath more than a minute, right? Well, actually, wrong. Everybody listening right now, you could hold your breath for 2 or 3 minutes today with just some training in a couple of hours. It's really incredible what you're capable of, and you just have to be able to access it with your mind. As I head down, notice how the boat and the other divers at the surface just disappear. Now, I'm not a professional freediver by any means. I'm just trying to have some fun out here, and I've actually never done a freediving course, although I highly recommend you do one if you want to learn more about it. Now, on this little practice freedive, I went down into where I could actually see the bottom down there, and the bottom was probably at like 100 feet, maybe, something like that. And so I actually hit about 65 feet, and I was down there for about a minute, okay? Now, that's not that impressive when you look at people who do this professionally. Like, my personal record is about 80 feet and about 3 minute breath hold, but I have friends that can blow way past that. So you can actually see on my watch where it says it right there, 65 feet, and I was down there for a minute and 3 seconds. Now, after having a good time practicing my free diving, just a couple dives up and down, I was really enjoying it. We were finally able to get some sharks to come in. Now, it took them a minute, because this is a baited dive, and it takes a little bit for the bait to, the scent trail to get out for them to be able to detect it. But here's our first lemon shark that was able to come in and check us out. I love watching the sharks when they're swimming through the water, and on a day like today where the visibility is a little bit limited, you see how they just kind of drift off and then just disappear into the murkiness. It's really, really beautiful. It's really cool to be able to see. Also a little bit creepy to most people, okay, but I think it's really cool to be able to see. And the visibility today was probably around maybe 40 feet, something along those lines. Now, on some days, we have the sharks thick. They're all over the place. There's literally dozens and dozens of them. Today, though, they were on the slower side. We only had about 3 of them come in, which was okay, because the guests that I had with me today, some of them were actually really, really nervous, first-time shark divers, and they were pretty scared. So maybe it was on the good side. We only had 3 today. And yeah, you heard that right. I run these dives open to the public. I take people out with me. If you want to come out and do a shark dive with me, make sure you send me an email at chrisgillettewildlife@gmail.com, and you can come and join me on a dive. Now, because gator work takes up my full-time work schedule, I do the shark dives when I get a chance. So there's no real schedule to it. It's pretty haphazardly, but when I'm going to do one, I usually post it up on social media and let everybody know. Now, those smaller fish you see attached to the shark's fin and across its back and swimming alongside it, those are actually called remora, and that's a little fish with kind of a sucker pad on top of its head that hangs alongside of the sharks and will pick off pieces of meat and things like that from the shark when it goes to eat something. A lot of people see them and think that they are baby sharks. They're not. Totally separate species that just kind of hangs on and uses the shark for mobility and also providing food. Now I decided to go down and take another dive to check out the sharks. Now this one is pretty shallow. I'm only about 15-20 feet deep. Now the sharks are actually really shy, okay? And they're very much more afraid of us than we are of them. You hear it all the time, but it is actually true. So when I go down, what I do to try to get them to come over and check me out is I just hold still. I just sit there in the water column and I float still, and then they'll come over to check me out. Now if you swim towards them, they get scared, they swim away. So I'll go down, I'll just hold still, and they'll come over to see me. Now when you see me go to grab my nose like this, what I'm doing is I'm equalizing, okay? So as you go down, the pressure changes and you have to equalize your ears. So that's what you see me doing there. Sharks have been around for 450 million years, which is just an unfathomable amount of time to think about. It's really incredible how successful these animals have been throughout the eons. Unfortunately, that success is being cut short by humans, of course. We seem to ruin everything, and sharks are included in this as well. And shark populations have declined so steeply in the last couple of decades, and they're just persecuted everywhere they are. In fact, it's not uncommon for us to see some of the sharks out here with actual gunshot wounds from people. Gunshot wounds are a dramatic injury we see on these sharks from fishermen who don't like the sharks and think that the sharks are stealing, quote, their fish. Because, you know, it's not like the sharks live in the ocean and that's what they're supposed to eat, right? While this is dramatic and definitely not a good thing, the real risk to sharks comes from people purposefully fishing for them or sport fishing for them. And the biggest one is bycatch. And so if you want to help protect sharks, one of the best things you can do is try to only choose sustainable seafood or not have seafood at all. Like me, I'm vegetarian. I don't eat any kind of meat at all. And a big part of that is just because of the impact it has on the environment. And I'm not saying you have to do that. It is an option, and I would love it if you consider it, but I definitely don't try to force that on people. But what I do try to get people to do is consider the impact of what they eat on the environment. And there are lists of seafood safe dishes that you can have where you can still keep your seafood, but be very selective about what you eat and only choose things that are sustainably sourced. But to step off my soapbox for a minute, let's get back to the sharks. Look at how gorgeous they are. Man, these guys are just so beautiful, so agile. That's my friend Madison swimming right there among the sharks. And I just can't tell you how awesome it is to be out here and be among them, and also to be able to bring people out with me and introduce them to the sharks and let them meet these incredible creatures too. Now you're seeing me dive down a lot, and you might be thinking, oh man, I really want to go out and do a shark dive, but I can't do that, I can't dive down. Well, that's fine. If you notice, the people I brought, they all stay on the surface, and so do the sharks for the most part. Look at them, they hang out up there where the people are, and they're very social up there. You don't have to be a free diver or a diver to be able to get down and see them. You don't need a certification or anything like that. We take people out to be able to introduce them in their habitat. Now, as I'm down on the bottom, this lemon shark decides to come down and see what I'm doing down here. Look at him. Hey, what are you doing down there? It's just really cute, you know, they're curious. They want to know what I'm doing, so they come down, come check me out, swim around. And it's just so cool to see how interactive in the environment they are. And they just kind of explore. They're curious about us and want to see what we're doing too. And so here comes another one circling by to check me out a little bit. You see how close they come by too. Not aggressive whatsoever. You know, everybody thinks sharks are bloodthirsty monsters. They're really cute and they're curious. Now this next one comes and almost bumps right into me. I give him a little redirection right there. Just kind of give him a little nudge out of the way so he doesn't run directly into me. But they are curious and they will bump into things to kind of check them out. Now that one, if you saw that one's eye, that one is a shark that we named Stevie. I met that one about 5 years ago. Pretty cool. And then this one nabs a little piece of bait right there. So these are baited dives. We do have small pieces of bait in the water, as you can see right there, and the sharks will swim around, they'll nab the pieces of bait. Now on that note, we are not hand feeding the sharks. We keep things really safe, keep the bait away from the people, and as you can see, the sharks are interested in the bait. They are intelligent animals. I can't stress this enough. They are more than smart enough to discern the difference between the bait and the people, and as soon as we don't have bait, the sharks leave. They're there because they want that piece of food. Now I'm filming all this with my GoPro attached to the top of my underwater camera housing. If I learn one thing, sharks like GoPros. As you can see, this one, bam, runs right into the GoPro. They can pick up the electrical signal emitted by the GoPro, and sometimes they get a little curious with it. Now it didn't even try to bite it, but it did turn and boom, bumps right into the GoPro. This is kind of funny. Two of these sharks go for the same piece of bait and boom, they kind of have a little traffic jam in the water right there. Which is kind of funny. And that's kind of a thing with lemon sharks. They're just very social and they just don't really care as they bump into each other. All right, so it was an awesome dive. We had 3 lemons hanging out with us the whole time, and it was both of your first time in the water with sharks, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think?
It's
I
crazy.
loved it. It was great, man.
It's kind of
Awesome.
scary.
A little scary at first, but after that.
Well, you see how chill they are, though, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And you've done this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was great. Though.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just liked having the 3 ones hang out with us.
Yeah. So one of those sharks, the one was blind in one eye, that's Stevie. So I've been diving with that shark. What has it been, like 5 years?
Over 5 years now.
Yeah, over 5 years now. That same shark.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you recognize them too. Like
Yeah. But as you can see, they're not aggressive. They're not, attacking us. And you just see how calm they are. I mean, they swim like literally between your
Yeah.
legs.
A couple
Just-
times.
Just hanging
Yeah,
out.
it was cool.
So everybody have fun though, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great, man. Great.
Everybody saw a shark,
Definitely
right?
gonna do it again. Saw him, touched him, almost rode one by accident.
Yeah. We're not riding
great.
sharks.
That
People
was
freak
great.
out. People freak
No,
out.
not on purpose.
But yeah, definitely a
great.
good time. And if you guys ever
We'll
want to
be
come
back.
out, yeah. Well, if anybody watching, if you ever want to come out, let me know. Come out here. We go out with my buddy Roger here on Salty too. So come out and dive with us.